It's a really common thing that happens when an anxious meets an avoidant, and then the anxious one unintentionally outgrows the avoidant. And you'd think that when you outgrow something, it's a kind of easy enough process, but it isn't. There's so much conflict that goes on inside someone who is outgrowing someone that they have once so loved. And in this video, I wanted to talk to the people who've experienced this or who might still be experiencing this to kind of validate that experience. This is exactly what happened to me. And the reason why I think this happens is because when you're unconscious of your patterns and your reasons for being attracted to certain people, you are so compelled to be with that person, and it feels really exciting, magnetic, and there's something really, really special about those connections. In the beginning, it feels like a unique union that you've never experienced before, and it's supposed to, because these relationships that bring us so much growth and transformation, they have to be magnetic for us to want to be there to experience the transition and the growth that we need to experience in order to become a new and better version of ourselves. But for me, I was drawn to my ex completely unconsciously. He was so mirroring things about my dad. And I just didn't recognise it, didn't notice. I just thought it was like an insane attraction, a soulmate type of feeling. And all I wanted was to be with him for years and years and years. And when we were finally together, I was like really relieved in a way, because, you know, this part of me that had wanted to be with him for so long was finally like, I can rest. I finally got what I wanted. But this for me was the beginning of what became, like, honestly, a dark night of the soul, because I felt like, you know, I had everything that I wanted, right? And it's that whole classic thing of outsourcing your sense of self-love, your sense of self-worth, happiness, all of that. I was doing that unconsciously. And so when we finally got together, I was like in this blissful bubble for a while. And I was so relieved that he wanted to be with me, and he finally, you know, commit to me, and it was going really well, seemingly. But there were things about me that I didn't realise, that I was willing to accept things that I didn't feel right and true. There was gut feelings that I was ignoring. There was things about the relationship and about where he was emotionally that were not sitting right with me, that I was ignoring and brushing under the carpet. And I intuitively got the sense that if I had brought them to him, that it wouldn't have gone well. So I didn't. I just didn't for a really, really long time. And I was going along with our life, and I actually was kind of okay. I was thinking, oh, good, I'm like enjoying a relationship. This is new. And I was really happy about that. But then something happened where I started to feel like, why am I so unhappy? Why am I so not right? I felt like I was watching myself in this relationship rather than being in it. And the reason why that was because I was still in people pleasing. I was still in fixing. I was still in saving. I was still trying to be a role in this person's life, because that had been my method to be loved, be everything, do more. And I had been like basically playing a part that I thought I needed to play in order to love this person. I'd been overgiving, overloving, throwing my whole self into this relationship, neglecting parts of myself that were so important to me, and I did not feel whole and I didn't feel right. There was something off. And this for me started a huge journey of, what the fuck is going on? I have got the person that I've always wanted. Shouldn't I be happy? Shouldn't I be okay? And I went into this horrible obsession with trying to figure it out, because the thing is that this is the conflict where it started. I started thinking, I'm not happy. What if I have to leave him? And this became a real worry for me, because I did not want to have to leave him. But I was starting to by force, my nervous system was saying, you're not happy, you're going to have to focus on this, connect back to myself. But I was still all the time gaslighting myself because I did not feel comfortable to share with him what I was feeling. It didn't feel like it was going to land well. When I did share it, it didn't land well. It wasn't met with the connection and the understanding that I really needed in order for the relationship to mature and grow forward. And where there was disagreements, rather than those being repaired afterwards, they were always brushed under the carpet. So this became like more and more resentment was growing, and my fear of having to leave him and lose him was getting louder and louder and louder. And so I was in this absolute inner turmoil of like, no, I've got to work this out. I've got to fix myself. I've got to heal myself. I went to so much therapy. I did courses. I did everything. And all of what I was getting was, you're growing. You're evolving. You're waking up. You're starting to realize the boundaries you need to set. And I didn't like it because I wanted to keep him. I wanted to keep my fantasy. I wanted to keep the love story that we had. And this was such a hard time. I can't tell you. This inner conflict was the worst, most difficult inner conflict I've ever had in my life. And I think from speaking to other people, this is what happens when you attract somebody who brings up for you your patterns that you've lived and had to live with for your whole life. And then you start realizing and listening to the discomfort that those patterns are creating within you. You have to start adjusting your world, even if that's not what you want. And it contradicts that part of you that's going, no, I can't lose this person. This is threatening the abandonment, the loss, the rejection. Like, what if this person doesn't accept the new you? What if this person doesn't accept you as you are? Then you're going to feel even more rejected. And the thing is, what was happening for me was that it was forcing me to become more authentic, to become more aligned with myself, to become more honest with myself, and to drop the people-pleasing, the fixing, the accommodating, the bending over backwards and neglecting parts of myself that I loved. It was forcing me to do that, whether I liked it or not. And I didn't like it, but I knew intuitively that it was necessary. And my mentors and my coaches kept saying, be with it. You're in the eye of the storm. Be with it. And it was like, when is this going to end? When is this going to get better? When am I going to feel like me again? When am I going to be able to feel like me with this person? I want to feel like me with this person. I don't want to let go. I can't let go. This went on for bloody ages, literally fucking ages. I would say years. And I was in this like hellish state of like, why am I not happy for so long? And it led me into this like obsession that made me feel like I wasn't being me. I was my anxious self, more anxious than before, but not so much about losing him, not so much about, it was more about me and the obsession with the relationship that was making me anxious and making me feel like I'm not being creative, I'm not being fun, I'm not dancing around the house, I'm not singing, I'm not, like I'm not doing all the things that make me feel like I'm in my lightness and in myself, right? Because I was so obsessed with overthinking the relationship and trying to save it. And then it became like, shit, he's got to do the work. He's got to go to therapy. He's got to. And if he doesn't, what am I going to do? And there became this like standoff. There was this standoff between me saying, I'm putting my foot down. You're going to have to go to therapy. Otherwise I'm going to have to leave. And I don't want to. I really, really don't want to. So please go to therapy. And the thing is that it was such a resistance because he was like, I don't want to. I really don't like that kind of thing. I don't want to do it, And I was like, couldn't accept my reality and couldn't accept his. So my life was just lived in this horrible state of resistance, not knowing how to move forward. And I literally stayed in the bargaining stage of grief for so long. And what my mentors and my therapist were saying was, you've grown so much. They kept saying it. You have grown so much. And, if you were in a spiral staircase, you started in the same step. And then you were like, I want to go up there and see what's up there. I'm going to unravel this. And then he was walking too slow. And you're like, hey, come up here. Come up here, it's really good up here. You can see this amazing view. We can do it together. And he's like, I quite like the view from here. I like it here. I'm okay. I don't want to do that. I'm too tired. I'm carrying too much weight from my past to get up the stairs. It's like I was feeling, because that's what I was being taught to do. And as I was feeling, I was going more and more up the staircase, and he's not willing to feel. So I couldn't get back down, and he couldn't get up. And it was just this horrible thing where it was like, oh no, I accidentally left him behind. I didn't mean to, but I had to, because it was for me. I had to do what was right for me. And I just wanted to share this experience for anybody who got into a relationship with someone with all of your unconscious patterns. It was painful as hell, and it forced you into an awakening and a growth that then put this conflict between you and the person that you wanted to love in your life that you didn't want. That is so hard. And I clung on, didn't want to let go. And we went to a therapy session together, and the therapist was like, you're on completely different pages. Karina's done all this work on herself and you haven't. And it's not that there's anything wrong with that. This is where you are in your life right now, but you're simply just on different pages right now. Karina's become a new version of herself, and you're still the version that you were when you met, in many ways. There are changes, obviously, but we just were on completely different pages. I had different ideas, different values, different things that were so important to me for a relationship, and he wasn't able to match those. And so they say the surest way to upset yourself is to go against your own values, and I found that being with him was consistently making me do that. And I just hoped, right, okay, if I end it, maybe it will trigger him into wanting to do it. If I set the boundary, maybe he'll miss me, maybe he'll want to. And I stayed there for a really long time as well, and that was really hard because he didn't. And it was just then it becomes I'm going to have to let him go, because this isn't fair to ask him to change when he doesn't want to, and that was really, really hard. And then the real grief starts. But I wanted to do this video to sort of speak to this experience, if anybody's experienced it or had it, and congratulate you on the growth that you've made for yourself and the awareness that you have. And if you're struggling with this is something that I work with my clients on, the letting go, the safety that you need in order to accept parts of yourself, and the confidence and the empowerment you need to be able to move forward. And this is what my Breakthrough 2025 program is all about. So if you would like to join, there are 2 spaces left, and we start next Thursday, and I'd love to see you there.